I'm an alcoholic. Name's Robert.
Hi, Robert.
Hi, everybody. Talking about speaker passing out. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. The first time I spoke up here was not in this room. I think it was downstairs, and traumatic event for me. Let me tell you, I don't know. So chronically self-centered. I'm telling you, I like froze Tory. I know what you're talking about. And, I remember speaking. I got up here kind of late. The car was messing up. Got up here late. Had chewing gum in my mouth. I'm trying to get it out. It's sticking to my hand. I'm trying to speak, and you know how nervous I get. And one of the things for me is today that no matter what, it's going to be okay. I know that, and very grateful to have this opportunity. Thank you, Trey, for asking me. I'm glad he called me yesterday and reminded me. I got a call from Brad, I think, and I got a message, and I barely could hear something, and he mentioned something about sorry he was going to miss me, and I wasn't quite sure what that was about. But my fiance was supposed to come with me today, and she's never heard me speak, and probably that might be a good thing. I don't know. She'd probably go running out the door. She really knew what I used to be like. And I often wonder when I'm sharing with people, and of course I don't share my fifth step with them, but I often wonder if they really knew what I used to be like. And, one of the things I'm really grateful for are the steps that help make my recovery possible. And that's the one thing that was missing for quite a while, especially when I first found these rooms and started coming to meetings. And one of the things I always loved was coming to meetings. I love the fellowship. Well, not initially. One of the things y'all suggested to me is to go to meetings, come to meetings till I want to go. And for me, I wasn't crazy about them, but what was the alternative? I didn't have one. I didn't have another plan. I'd kind of run out of plans. So I came to meetings. I kept suiting up and showing up, so to speak. And one of the things that I really like is the fellowship. And after a while, I started to feel a part of. I started, I heard somebody describe it one time, if you want to get close to God, get close to his children. And for me, I started getting close to you people in the rooms. Y'all allowed that to happen. And, the thing about being based on attraction rather than promotion, that was a big deal for me. The acceptance I got when I first arrived and remembering what that was like. And I was listening to someone this morning who ended up leaving a facility, said they didn't feel like they fit. And I understand that. I didn't feel like I fit until I felt like I fit. And coming to meetings, like I said, the people that kept encouraging me to come back. And I need a lot of encouragement. And for me, I was fortunate enough to start this journey when I was 23. And we were just talking out in the parking lot. I just turned 63. So seems like a long time, but it's a short journey. It really is. So I always encourage guys when start talking about, quantity of time or whatever. And I like to say that one of the things I know about me, about my disease, one of the things the program of Alcoholics Anonymous teaches me is that I love God's today. If I started to say I've got 38 years, really, in reality, the 38 years are gone. They're gone. And I'll usually say something slick like, my disease is not impressed with how long I've been sober. And that's the truth, though. The whole program is designed to keep me humble, and I need that. I really do. Thank God for the principles that help remind me who and what I am. I need to come to meetings on a regular basis. I'm grateful that y'all been able to open back up. The meetings. A lot of people, some meetings in my hometown. One of the meetings in my hometown that was going on before I ever arrived there in 1981. Meeting was over 40 years old, shut down during this pandemic. And, one of the things I know is a lot of people quit coming. And one of the reasons that we were able to open up my home group when we did was just taking a look at the amount of people that began to be missing in action, so to speak. And we had a few members die. And it's just the nature of what we're dealing in. We hear disease take us to jails, institutions, or death. Ultimately, that's it. And the reality of that is that happens sometimes, and it just reminds me of the seriousness of my condition. And I get angry at the disease when that happens. Really, I do. I guess if there's any drawback to being around for a while is getting close to people and watch them start to not show up or go back out and die, and it's really painful. And I want to be there. I want to be here for people when they come back. I think about the people that were here when I got here, and I'm telling you, there were a lot of old timers. Some people call them long timers. People with a lot of experience, strength, and hope who helped me, who, again, encouraged me, who showed me how this program works. For the first couple of years, I came to meetings, I listened a lot, and I learned a lot from the people in the rooms. And one of the things that I didn't learn, though, was that it's more than just knowledge. It's a program of action. And I remember thinking and having the faith without the works, and ultimately going back out multiple times. I used to think, as I listened to how it works, I used to think I was one of those people who were inconstitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves because of the number of white ships I kept picking up. As I began to lose hope, because the first time I ever got here, I felt like I was done. I didn't want to do it anymore, But one thing I know is that I didn't know how to live with it. I didn't know how to live without it. And my inability to deal with life on life's terms just always led me back out the door. It was never just a craving or an obsession. It was just, I had to go medicate myself, And I think that's one of the things that I liked about drinking initially. I began at an early age. I grew up in a really wonderful family. A wonderful family. I couldn't ask for better parents. They were, I know that's not everybody's story, but it's mine. Just loving, nurturing, giving people who loved me unconditionally. And there were 5 of us kids. I was outside. I'm a little resistant to change. I don't know about y'all, but I am. I was outside mowing the grass yesterday afternoon, and a lot of memories started flooding through as I was sitting there thinking. And I now live in that home where I grew up in. And there were 7 of us in the home when I was coming up. And now I live in it. And we got an additional room built onto it. And I'm thinking, and initially when I moved in, I thought, this house ain't big enough for me. you know, and there were 7 of us who grew up in it, and with one bathroom. I'm thinking it ain't big enough for me, you know. But I was cutting the grass. I remember so many good memories coming up, and just a lot of togetherness as a family. I was blessed with that. I was also thinking about, as I was pushing the lawnmower, I've got a riding lawnmower. I've got a John Deere. I never ride it. I always push the lawn. And 3 years ago, at this point in time, July the 1st, I started recognizing, maybe, a week or two before that I was hurting in my chest. I was really, really hurting my chest. And I had to have, ended up going to the doctor. I've never had any type of surgery, any type of anything. And it's always scared me in my recovery to have that experience. And I found out when I was pushing the yard that day that I made one lap around it, and my chest was burning so bad, and I said, man, something's wrong. And I ended up going to the doctor, and come to find out my valve in my heart, it was just about shut down. It was just barely squirting out some blood, and I had to have open heart surgery, and thank God for those people. But the scary thing for me at that point in time is that I'd been completely drug-free at that point in time, I think for over 35 years. I'd been to the emergency room before, been to the dentist, people trying to give me prescriptions, and I don't know about y'all, but I know for me, it don't matter what it is, if I put one in me, it is way too many. And it lights something up in me. And that kind of happened for me when I had my surgery. No, it didn't it did. And it just verified everything I knew about me, about the progression of the illness, it didn't matter what it was, that obsession and compulsion are what I have. And for me, that's kind of what happened. It was scary. It was a scary time for me. And thank God, unlike a lot of people, and a lot of people I know, that's the reason they're not around anymore. I saw that. I've got to be around long enough to see that, to where people lose their choice. Through no fault of their own sometimes. They just lose their choice. But I was thinking about that as I was cutting the grass yesterday, and just thinking about all the good memories though I had as a kid in that house, out in the backyard, churning ice cream by hand, my father doing that, slip and slide. I think we had a goat we would ride. It was just a good time. My father played a lot of music, the Righteous Brothers, just Johnny Rivers, all kinds of music. And it was a good time in my house. It was a really good time. And my grandfather had a grocery store down below the house, and I would go down there, and my grandfather spoiled me. Another reason I was thinking about that moment out there in that yard was that my grandfather had bought me this motorcycle, and at the age of 12, I'm out there in the front yard where I was at yesterday. This kind of shook me yesterday. It kind of shook me to my core. Just recalling that moment when I was as a 12-year-old out there washing that motorcycle, and the next door, my girlfriend, my first love, come by and asked me to go down to my grandfather's store with her, and I didn't go down there with her, and That wasn't good. She ended up walking down there and getting run over and got killed. And at that point in time, I didn't kind of frame that, but at that point in time, I was already getting high at 12 years old. I started at a very early age, and you think, where's my parents at? Now, I'm telling you, I had wonderful parents, and parents loved me, and but I'd already started, and I really never dealt with that. I never dealt with that till I got to the program Alcoholics Anonymous, because I didn't have to. From the time I was 12 till I was 23, that 23-year-old walking in those rooms with 12 years old emotionally, wanting to find this way of life, it was a challenge for me to deal with that. So, yeah, that's how I dealt with that, by not dealing with it. Covering everything up. My first experience with alcohol was, I remember it in that house, my mother and the bunk bed with my brother. I was down in the lower bunk, having a cold, my mother bringing me whiskey, honey, and I can tell you, I don't want to get too descriptive because it makes me want to drink now, that warm, that ease and comfort it gave me. I remember thinking about that, and I used to say that the first time I drank was when I was camping out and at 12 and stealing a bottle of liquor from a friend of mine's mother. He stole a pint and we drank it, and I passed out. Talking about passing out up here. I passed out that night and I blacked out, and the next day I was sick and hungover, and I don't know, that's not everybody's experience, but for me, it seemed like every time I drank, I got sick, and I drank all the time. I drank daily, and I get sick all the time, but it never stopped me. I like the effect. It had a way of blunting, or I guess curbing, that fear, that chronic fear that I had at that time. I was just consumed by fear. And one of the things was, I just didn't feel like I was good enough. I don't know where that came from. It didn't come from my parents, because they let me know I was good enough, and they let me know they loved me. And I don't know, maybe it's just a symptom of my illness, I think. But one thing is for sure, I found a medicine for that, and I was on an 11-year run with it. From the very beginning, it hijacked my brain, and let me tell you, for that 11 years, it was daily, and I just found ways and means to get more. And it created problems in that family that was so loving and nurturing, because they didn't understand what was going on. They didn't understand why I was doing what I was doing. And my father, who loved me unconditionally, like I said, but he didn't mind tearing me up, but that didn't work. He didn't mind trying to put me on restriction, but that didn't work. Or taking something away, that didn't work. Because why? Because drinking and the use of other drugs was more important to me than anything else at that time. Than anything else. The love of my family, even. I have had wonderful brothers and sisters. I began to isolate from my family right then. I was no longer just a family affair. It was no longer that connection with my family. It's almost like it severed that right from the beginning. And I couldn't see it. Of course, they could. They could see it very clearly. Everybody could see it. It's almost like denial kicked in with me right from the beginning. And even with my grandfather, who was down there, who would do anything in the world for me at that store. And I'm telling you, that man, he would buy me mini bikes, motorcycles, give me money, give me whatever. I was his boy, but you know what? It wasn't long before I was just taking advantage of him, manipulating him. And I guess it just goes with the territory. Those are some of the things I had to deal with when I got here at 23. The things that I was telling you about, that I come in here as a 12-year-old, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know how to deal with it. And just thinking that if I don't drink and I could just choose to forgive myself, it'll go away, but not like that. Not like that. It don't happen that easy. Thank God for steps. So for the next 11 years, basically what I can tell you is a drunk-a-log, but y'all know how that goes. Y'all know how that goes. I did pretty well in school until that began to transpire. And I'm telling you, I'd meet out there. And I had this thing of being less than. I told y'all about that. I don't think I'm unique with that, but I've heard y'all talk a little bit about that before. And I remember almost feeling like I was one up on a lot of the classmates and people I hung around with. You know what? And I began to, over time, introduce them to the things I was doing, you know? And so that was fine then. You know, like, hey, come join the party. And I used to say in the beginning, it was a good time. And then I would change that the longer I'm sober and start to reflect on that type of, you know, disconnect I had, and the thing that it took me away from. It took me away from my family, you know. I know that the promise has come true in my life. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. Thank God that's come true in my life. But let me tell you that as I look back, it wasn't a good time, you know. That was my thinking when I got here, that early on it was a good time. Then it progressively got worse. Then it turned into a nightmare, you know. But as family members of mine, as family members of mine began to pass away in recovery, and I started thinking, it wasn't such a good time. It took me away from them. How can I say that was a good time? You know? It took that away from me. It took away those opportunities. It just did. That's the nature of it. Hurt the ones that I love the most. That's just the way it goes. And that's what I did because of my alcoholism. And I used to think, when I got here, that that's who I was. And that's why I beat myself up so badly. You know, that low self-esteem turned into self-hate over a period of time. And that's, as I know it today, that's not who I am. That's just what I did because of my alcoholism. Loss of control is a symptom. Obsession, compulsion are symptoms that cause me to do things I swore I would never do. You know. Again, thank God for the steps. The last 3 years I was in school, I wasn't in school. I didn't get a good education because I was out in the streets, graduating basically the school of hard knocks. I didn't finish high school. I didn't complete high school. Told somebody that I couldn't make it out of the parking lot at school. You know, we would all meet out there. Whatever we're going to do today, we're going to go to the pool room. We're going to go to the woods. We're going to go to the river. Somebody's parents' house. Something. But I ain't going to school. Not going to school. And so I didn't get an education. Really, I did not. But I certainly I certainly was getting education out there, doing what I was doing, of what not to do as I look at it today. I didn't graduate from high school. My parents, I was so connected to, my brothers and sisters, who I was so connected to, I told y'all that went away. We got this little house. Well, it's not that little, really. It was little, though, when there's 7 people. And it's real little when I got to come in the same door every night. I do, and see my father and my mother sitting there on the couch. And my father, he just looks at me and shakes his head. And then I hear my parents, kind of arguing about what to do with me and stuff. And my mother would always win out. My mother would. My mother loved her children so much, It's remarkable. My father did too, but he was certainly torn. He was certainly torn apart, the way our family was. And my mother, she didn't understand this thing. She didn't understand it. She and I would go to the beach at times and go to a campground, go get a motel. My mother, I'm 14, 15 years old, I don't know. My mother, she got married at 15. She doesn't know. She's going to give me a jug of wine and some cigarettes and take me, I'm going to the beach because that's what I want, right? That's what I want. And, but, I think about that and the way that I would manipulate people who cared about me. I manipulated those people. And that's just a fraction of the stuff I had to take a look at. After a while, we talk about it is something that I heard in these rooms where the point comes one day when it stops doing for you and starts doing to you. And therefore, I can't get that stuff out of my mind. The things I'm doing, the people I'm doing it to. I thank God with the progression of it. And thank God when we get sober when we're real young, right? Thank God for that. I was able to do that, but yeah. I ended up getting out of my parents' house, and my father was able to give me a job through a friend of his, and I got a job with a unionized company, and that's the only way I was able to work there because I got fired twice. The union got my job back. I couldn't. I lay out of work a lot. Poor. I was a poor employee. Terrible. Ended up. One good thing is that I was able to, with the progressionist thing, I tell y'all it got worse and worse and worse to the point to where I came to one morning, just like every other morning, the nightmare. It's just a nightmare. The pain was becoming great. The pain was intensifying in my life. And I used to hear people talk about, young people coming in the rooms and, whether they'd had enough or not. And I'm here to tell you, for me, pain is pain. I don't care whether you're 23 or 63. It's pain. I don't suffer well. And I thank God that I experienced what I did to the point to get me to a point of surrender. Like, please, somebody, please help me. And I reached out for help for the first time in 1981. I ended up talking to a doctor. My mother, I called her, I told her I needed some help. These people not even asking me what kind of help I need. Everybody knows. I weigh 120 pounds. My mother, great cook, she would bring these huge plates of food to my apartment and give to me because she's seeing I'm a skeleton. I'm a corpse walking around. But I couldn't eat it. Eating was not a priority for me. And so when I called her up and I said, I need to get some help, she just kind of took me to the doctor right then, talked to the doctor. just a moment. And he said, yep, we can get you in here. And I went to a facility. I made arrangements to go maybe that day. I don't even remember. And one thing is that, and this is the power of alcoholism as I know it. You know, I got the lady I was seeing at the time to, I forgot how much I drank on the way up there. And then, this is what I tried to do. And mind you, I work at a facility, treatment facility today, and the guys coming in, I just assume they're going to do the right thing. You know, they ain't going to try to sneak anything in. But I desperately wanted to quit, but I tried to sneak something in there. And I look at that, and that's powerlessness right there. I wanted to quit. I was drinking, I was using drugs against my will, and I had been for a long time. I began to try to quit 2 years before that, and all my efforts were failing me. And I said, I got to have some help. So I went to a facility, manipulated them that night. I was drunk. Told them I couldn't sleep, like they come give me a handful or something. And next thing you know, and I stayed there for 28 days, and I got out, and I was introduced to Alcoholics Anonymous. I came back to Rockingham. I started, it's kind of tough walking in the first meeting, and I walked in there, and I pretty apprehensive, but they told me to keep coming back, and I did. I was able to keep coming back, and I'm very grateful for those people, like I said, based on attraction rather than promotion. I went to meetings. Multiple failed attempts, though, let me tell you. Doing everything they told me not to do. Don't get any relationships. Stay away from old playmates, playgrounds. Get a sponsor, work the steps. I didn't do it. I think I wanted the easier, softer way. I'm going to meetings. I love going to meetings. I love reading the literature. But knowledge of that is nothing. Words mean nothing until you put them in action. And what I've learned and what I'm learning, I'm still learning, is that, it's like y'all say, I have to live my way into sober thinking. And I wasn't living my way into sober thinking. I was trying to think my way into it. I managed to pick up a year chip one time. 14 months. But during that whole time, it was a nightmare for me. It was bad. I was going to meetings every day. I kept thinking I would get better. This may not be your experience, but it's my experience. I was progressively getting worse. I'm telling you, I was getting worse and worse. I had to live with me. I didn't like me. I had to live with all these secrets I had. I didn't realize, there was an option. Maybe I missed that, how it works. I don't know. I told Trey I have a hard time following directions. I think I was following GPS up here and still have a hard time. Got lost. I'm over there in elementary school parking lot. And but anyway, I just kept coming back. And the last time I drank, I stayed out there for 9 months. There wasn't no going back out, picking up white ship, getting back after it. I tried that. It's saying progressive. It would not allow me to do that. And I had to go into another facility that introduced me back into the program Alcoholics Anonymous. And that was in October of '83. I'm very grateful for that facility. Here I am again, wanting help. I'm going in this facility. I know these people, and they've got rules to follow. They tell me it's plain and simple. I can't follow rules. Can't follow directions. That's why I wasn't able to stay sober. And they were very much on the verge of kicking me out of there. And the guy that told me he's going to kick me out of there packed my bags. Usually he doesn't change his mind, and he did. And I'm very grateful for that. Because I knew, man, I was going to die. I knew it. If the the illness didn't kill me. I was going to kill me because I was, you know, when you reach a point to where, and as I did, where I'm not happy sober and I'm not happy drinking, and both of them are like a living nightmare, there's only one alternative. I could see how a man could get to the jumping off point, as I did. You know, at 14 months, I drank again. Why? I didn't know what else to do. I honestly didn't know what else to do. But anyway, by the grace of God, I was able to make it back. And I knew what I'd been doing had not worked. I was going to have to do some things differently, more committed, daily surrender to this way of life. I got in to do some basic stuff. Upon awakening, making a decision, turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understand it. You know, recognizing that I've got a chronic illness. You know, man, I remember being relieved to find out finally what was wrong with me. And that's after being in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous for over 2 years, in and out. I still didn't know what was wrong with me. Once I understood what was wrong with me, I really kind of fell in line with the solution. And I started putting the stuff into practice until, I was talking to some guys today about how it takes a while. These old patterns that's been going on for a long time, they're not easily changed. It takes time. And one of the things I realized is that as badly as I wanted to get better, that I couldn't will myself to do that. That I did need the 12 steps in my life. And man, I'm telling you, this thing is so simple, I almost missed it. Really, it is so simple, I almost missed it. And it's amazing to me. And I'm not glad I got that experience, but that experience has helped me to share with other people, what they don't have to go through, Maybe they do, I don't know. But if they are going through it, maybe I can help them identify it because I know what I'm looking at. I had to live that. And, it's not rocket science, really, but you would think it was. I'm amazed that I'm sober because it is, and I'm grateful that for the program Alcoholics Anonymous, there's so much repetition. I get to deal with some pretty smart guys that come through our facility and newcomers in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous. But for me, I need a lot of reminders and I need this repetition. I know some people kind of get bored with it after a while, but not me. I don't. I remember, I remember what it was like. And the thing for me is that I guess the gift for me is being able to recall pretty quickly what it used to be like, both in active alcoholism and with just abstinence and going to meetings and suffering both ways. It's easy for me to recall that because I know it's burning in my brain. The pain of that is burnt into my brain, and I'm grateful it is. And I get to experience a lot of gratitude because there's been a profound change that's taken place in my life, and I realize this by the grace of God, the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, a lot of help. And, I'm just grateful that I got to experience this. I even tell some guys the same thing because, that like they need to experience life before they die, and I was about not to. I think that for me, that looking back on it, as wonderful as my childhood was, as great as that was, it's nothing like this way of life that I'm experiencing. because there was something like that spiritual malady was within me that I could not fix. My parents couldn't fix it. I looked to things to do that. And, I looked to things to fix me like that when I first came in these rooms. And that's not the fix for me. The steps are the principles that make my recovery possible. And that's my message. And, that simple message, that it'll work if I live it. It'll work if I work it. And it does. And thank God that there is a solution that eluded me. And that I was so frightened that I would never experience. Because, I wanted something different. I wanted it. But wanting it is just not enough. It isn't. But I'm grateful to be here tonight. I'm grateful to see y'all. Thank you, Trey. I see some miracles sitting around here. Y'all keep coming back. I need y'all. And y'all keep coming back. Thank you.